Hi everyone, welcome to the IQhub. Today we're going to give you a virtual tour of what we have going on since we're closed due to COVID. And I'm here with some of my friends, Ernie and Farm Guy, and they're going to help show us around. Hi guys.
Hi everybody, I'm Ernie, this is Farm Guy, and welcome to the IQhub, a 9,500 square foot museum where we have thousands of kids come through every year and teach them some things about agriculture and fertilizer. We're located in St. John's at the Agro-Liquid headquarters, and where we make liquid fertilizer, tens of millions of gallons every year, all throughout the country, distributed and manufactured. And this museum is kind of a tribute to some of the fertilizer history as well as some agricultural facts, mostly about Michigan. And we're hoping that you guys can come down sometime, but we're going to give you a quick tour of some of the exhibits.
There's a lot of science in here too, so can't wait to see. What's this first one?
We have several exhibits that talk about the history of fertilizer. And one of the early fertilizers, we have a Squanto exhibit here, who was a Native American who helped some of the early settlers with early fertilizer. And back in those days, they didn't have fancy stuff like Agro-Liquid makes. They had stuff like fish. You can get fertilizer from some dying animals. Fish was a common fertilizer.
Speaking of common items, this guy just got some wood.
Potash is another important thing that they used to make by burning wood in big metal drums. Now almost all of the potash is mined. In fact, in Michigan, there's a huge potash mine up near Everett where they collect a lot of this. So they make fertilizer different ways now. This is some of the history.
You talked about animals. What is Farm Guy pointing at? Oh my, what's that?
Another way they got an important ingredient in fertilizer, phosphorus, came from bones. And they would literally grind them up and start out with lots of bones from probably cattle and things like that. Now, as I said before, things like this are mined out of the ground.
Huh. Oh, look at the ground over here. What are you pointing at, Farm Guy? What is going on here?
We've come a long way in cultivating fields. The modern technology makes it easy for farmers to have huge areas, huge tracts of lands that they farm. In the old days, of course, they used horse plows, as is described by a video we have running up here all the time. This is an example of some of the more modern stuff. This is probably from the 60s. It's a 5-plow, and we have a few tractors in here that are interesting to look at also. This one is a John Deere that was driven right in here and just parked when this exhibit was made.
Yeah, tractors and plows, everything sure has changed over the years. Farm Guy's showing us around here next. Let's go down this shed. There's something in here. Oh, what's this?
This is a tribute to the history of the company itself. It's called Bucket Brigade, and these mannequins are Doug Cook and Troy Bancroft, who actually started this company in a little shed behind Troy's parents' house. And they literally were mixing stuff up in barrels, and now they've come to the point where they make tens of millions of gallons of fertilizer every year, starting out from those humble beginnings.
So in the beginning, they made this fertilizer to help with plants, and Farm Guy, you've got a bunch of different plants and crops behind you. It really must have expanded over the years. What's this one about?
This exhibit is to help to magnify how important agriculture is in Michigan. Lots of crops in Michigan are world-renowned. We lead the country in several different categories that you can read about when you come down here. And apples are real important in growing in Michigan, and one of the reasons Michigan is so special are the Great Lakes, and the breezes that are created by the Great Lakes, and the moisture actually allows them to grow world-class apples, cherries, and things like that, where they just are optimum conditions. And this is an old sprayer, and this tractor actually is a specialized tractor you can see with these big fenders on it. And these fenders are so that when they drive through the orchard, it pushes the branches away rather than getting them stuck up in the wheels.
Yeah, this tractor looks really different than the one we just saw. Oh, farm guy's showing us something on this side. What's this all about?
This is for people interested in the chemistry of fertilizers. Nitrogen was really hard to get out of the ground and capture from the air in the early days. This is the Haber process. It's described in a simulated exhibit here, where all the nitrogen that they use in farms and fertilizer is really important in helping plants grow, comes from almost all of it the Haber process. It's a chemical process where they extract it from the air and can put it into fertilizer.
So this
All the
sounds
food you eat has some of the nitrogen in it from this process.
pretty important, but pretty intense. Probably for high school.
Yeah.
Farm
We
guy's
have,
looking
we
up.
have,
What
we
are
have
you
stuff
looking
for
at?
all levels in here.
There is a lot of things in this museum up top. Oh, this says dirt on soil. Huh.
Yeah. This is an exhibit that has 8 stations, and we are currently developing games to be played in here. Some of these games are for high schoolers, some are for elementary kids. We have quite a range, and in fact, they're still being developed. We're hoping in the very near future to get these all finalized, and they're actually going to be posted so that you can play the games on our website. If you go to the IQhub website, you'll be able to pick up on some of these games too. For example, this one is a game for 3rd graders to pick pollinators, picking a crop. This is just one of many games, and then it'll show how it's pollinated.
Huh. Do you like games, farm guy?
Farm guy spends his whole evenings down here every day. I've seen him.
Uh-oh. He's on a roll. This must be your favorite. Well, look at this. It's a tractor that he's climbing in. So the other 2 are off limits. They're in an exhibit, but this one you can get inside.
Okay, this is actually a tractor simulation where you get a real feel for what it's like to plant crops in a big tractor. This is a life-size tractor, although the whole tractor isn't here. It's parts of it. The cab is the same size as the regular tractor. And you actually get to drive around in a field. You get to feel the bumps and everything and planting corn. This exhibit is also being upgraded so that even if you've been here before, it's going to be modified and it'll be kind of like a new game for you in the near future.
Lots of technology.
Yeah, farm guy's pointing at a screen in there. That's actually a monitor that modern tractors all have that use GPS. Global positioning satellites are able to locate tractors, drive them on the fields, and keep real careful track of exactly where crops were planted and even where the rows are, so when they combine them later, they can pick them using the same GPS coordinates.
Speaking of plants, we got plants up top here. Let's go get a closer look. There's always something to look at. All right, farm guy's pointing up top. What do we got going on here?
What do you guys think that is growing? Farm guy, do you know what that is growing? He's not, I'll bet you kids know. It's corn, isn't it? And this is to demonstrate the states of the corn, starting out with all these vegetative states, the V2 says over here. And underneath plants, you can see little lights, little tiny lights. Those lights are kind of describing the types of fertilizer and amounts of fertilizer that are needed for the plant. And you can see as you move down the row here a little bit, the lights get brighter and brighter because the plants need more and more nutrients and different kinds of nutrients at different times. So
Yeah.
through the vegetative state, they're all growing, the stalks are getting bigger, the leaves are getting big. And then right in the middle of the exhibit here, all of a sudden you start to transition into the reproductive state. So in the middle one, they start to grow tassels so they can spread their pollen, and then the ears of corn start to develop as you go around.
I see the ears.
And you can see as you get farther along at the little lights, there's like hardly any lights underneath it at the end, because at that stage they've taken up all the nutrients that they need and the corn is just maturing, the ears are maturing. And then at the end, they're ready to be harvested.
Huh. That's pretty cool. Yeah, who would have thought those lights in those roots and lots of detail. Speaking of detail, there's posters, there's all sorts of stuff to read, but I hear water. Farm guy is excited to show me something with water. Are you going to wash your hands? Well, maybe not. So
No.
even though we have to keep clean right now, this is not a hand washing station. Tell me what this thing is about.
This is a simulation to illustrate the limiting reactants that are involved in growing things. If you're growing a crop and it needs lots of different little ingredients and fertilizer, as it turns out, if you run out of one of them, the plant's not going to grow as effectively. So it's described in a video, and this illustrates if you have a barrel, for example, and water could fill all the way to the top, except for one spot, the water's going to leak out because you run out of basically enough boards to support it. Well, fertilizers are kind of like that, because if you run out of one ingredient, your plant's not going to grow, even though you have lots of the other things in place to make it grow.
There's a lot of science in agriculture. Chemistry, biology. What are you pointing at here? 9 billion.
Eating the 9 billion. This is an exhibit that helps to describe the needs of agriculture, the importance of agriculture, and it talks about the population of the earth. Right now we have 7.6 billion people on Earth. Well, how many people are we going to have on Earth in 2050, farm guy? Oh, maybe. When you come to the museum, hopefully, you can push this button and it'll tell you. Many of our exhibits here are interactive, and they allow you to think about questions and get the answers by pushing buttons.
Well, it's a good thing we have places like this to learn about the environment and things growing, because there's only so much space on Earth where we can plant. Hey, oh, more plants. What's going on in here? Wow, sounds like thunder and lightning.
Yeah, this is an exhibit that helps describe some of the importance of the soil, and this video shows how water moves through the soil. Do you know if soil with clay or rocks and sand is better for growing certain things? Well, this explains a lot of that.
Huh, and look at, these are even underneath the roots again. So we get to see roots of corn and roots of our beans. Roots must be a big part too.
That's right. I think this is Farm Guy's little bean garden. Did you get a picture of how well he's growing things?
They're pretty big.
Yeah.
What do we got going on over here? Oh, speaking of his garden, this must be his favorite spot to hang out too, the kids' corner. Let's poke our head in there.
Kids' corner.
I bet kids like hanging out here too, farm guy, so you're not alone. Whoa, there's a lot to see.
This is a separate little area that's kind of set up for younger kids. There are games, activities, toys. There's a library of books that you can check out. There are interactive games on the wall over here. Farm Guy loves to spend time in here. How old are you, Farm Guy? He doesn't know. Show us with your fingers. That many.
I think all ages will enjoy this, but probably more the lower elementary in here.
Yeah.
Well, there is definitely a lot to see, and I was just wondering about this one. Is this one about like careers or more parts of agriculture? What is this one?
This one is about some of the technology in farming and how important it is to make sure you get the right fertilizer in the right place at the right time. And these are some of the tools and ways that farmers are able to make sure that all of those things are met.
So we could have engineers, we could have mechanics, chemists, agronomists, soil scientists. There is definitely a lot of learning and careers and people involved in feeding the planet, huh?
Absolutely.
Lots of soil and plant exhibits, technology exhibits.
And if you were able to come here on a field trip, which by the way, this place, how much does this place cost to come to, Farm Guy? Zero.
Oh.
It's free when we're open. And as soon as we are open, we're going to be inviting schools and field trips. We have thousands of kids come through here every year. And one of the other things we like to do in the spring especially and fall during harvest season is take kids up to the research farm where they can actually see plants growing and getting harvested and see some of the equipment firsthand. But here at the museum, we have lots of other interesting things.
Well, it's pretty cool that we can do a lot of virtual stuff now to stay connected with everyone, but I can't wait to have people come in and actually see it in person. Farm Guy is showing us this. Is this our last one? Oh wow, this is a cow.
It is a cow. And the reason this is our newest exhibit, it's got videos that you can look at. You can see it's mooing at me. And it shows a milker. And dairy is really important, especially in this area, Clinton County. It's one of the biggest dairy herds in the entire state. There are so many healthy growing situations and dairy cows in Clinton County that in St. John's they built a cheese factory that makes, I'm not going to tell you, but it's a lot of cheese. If you come here, I'll tell you exactly how much cheese they make every day. And so this is just to kind of represent that and give you lots of interesting information with these videos about all of the dairy stuff.
I definitely love my milk and dairy products. Well, thanks guys for giving us a tour. Hopefully people can email and set up a field trip, a virtual field trip, or an in-person when we can. Hopefully people can ask some questions here below and have a really good day.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks guys, bye.
Bye.